Title: The Millionaire Farmwoman's simple quest for a horse leads to a shocking rescue of 6 captives. Chapter 1: The Mysterious Beginning. From the very first moment, an eerie silence hung over the old farmhouse, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves stirred by an unseen breeze. Strange shadows flickered across the cracked walls, as if the house itself held secrets desperate to be uncovered. Every creak of the floorboards echoed like a whispered warning, while outside, the distant howl of a lone wolf sent chills down the spine. Something was undeniably wrong, a hidden truth lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel. The air grew thick with anticipation as unexplained lights danced in the darkness, and the townsfolk's hushed rumors spoke of an ancient curse that no one dared to challenge. As wealthy as she was, the millionaire farmwoman Isabella Hawthorne felt the weight of the unknown pressing on her chest. She had come to this isolated homestead, far from any civilization, on a simple quest to find a horse. Not just any horse, but the one whispered about in the taverns of town, said to be as mysterious as the moonlit nights. Clutching a faded photograph of the rare stallion, she stepped further into the shadows, her heart racing with hope and anxiety, each heartbeat louder in the oppressive silence. Suddenly, an ear-splitting crash echoed from the barn. Isabella whipped around, her trembling hands holding the photograph as if it were a lifeline. The barn doors were ajar, swaying gently as if welcoming her closer. With each cautious step, the air thickened with tension. Old rumors flashed through her mind, tales of ghostly figures and strange rituals. What could be hidden within? What had she unintentionally stumbled upon? The closer she got, the more a sense of urgency washed over her. She could almost hear whispers of hidden captives calling for help, or dark figures lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Fear gripped her throat, yet a spark of courage ignited inside. Maybe finding that horse was not just about want. Maybe it was about fate. With one final push, she flung open the barn door, revealing a sight that made her blood run cold. 6 faces, terrified and gaunt, stared back at her from behind the makeshift barrier. Wide eyes shook with disbelief, and she could see the faint shimmer of hope flickering within them, like a dying ember longing for the breath of life. "Help us!" one of them cried, a voice thick with desperation. Isabella's world tilted. She had come for a horse, but now she was staring at a chilling reality. She couldn't just walk away. A decision loomed before her, heavy and electric. Would she dare to confront the darkness hidden within this farmhouse? Her heart raced. The rescue of 6 captive souls could very well depend on her next move. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important alert. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button down below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And since you're here, drop that powerful like that helps me so much with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love meeting every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now. Chapter 2: The Unraveling Truth. Isabella stood frozen, heart racing, breath caught in her throat. The 6 faces behind the barrier, each one a canvas of despair, clamored for her attention. "Help us!" echoed through the barn, a haunting plea that sliced through the air like a razor. But just as she instinctively took a step forward, a shadow loomed behind her, cold and threatening. She felt the hairs on her neck stand up. The barn door creaked as it swung wider, and a figure emerged, tall, clad in dark clothing, face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a smirk that twisted into something devious. "You shouldn't have come here, Isabella," he said, his voice smooth yet dripping with malice. Her stomach dropped. She recognized him. Lucas, the man who had once been a trusted aide on her family's estate, now twisted into something unrecognizable. "Lucas, what are you doing here?" Panic blended with confusion, a tight knot forming in her chest. His laughter was cold, mocking. "What am I doing here? Oh, you've stumbled into a web far more complex than hunting for a horse. These poor souls," he gestured to the captives, "are bait, Isabella. Bait for you." Her breath came in rapid bursts as she shot a glance at the captives, their eyes reflecting terror mixed with a flicker of bewilderment. She felt their pain, their longing for freedom. "Why?" she asked, voice trembling. "What do you want from me?" "Simple, really. You're rich, powerful. You think you can just waltz in here, fix everything with your money and influence? But you're wrong." His eyes gleamed with derision. "I need you to play your part." Before she could respond, the barn trembled, the lights flickering in chaotic pulses. Isabella stumbled back, a cold dread pooling in her gut. The air pulsed with tension as whispers rose from the captives, calling for a savior, but drowning in despair. Then, with a sudden clap of thunder, everything changed. The ground beneath her shook violently, as if the very foundations of the barn were tearing apart. Dust clouded the air, and the captives screamed in unison. A fissure opened wide, slicing through the floor, dark and yawning, like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. "Run!" Isabella screamed. Her heart raced with a mix of fear and determination as she lunged toward the captives, her hands trembling. But Lucas laughed, a maniacal laugh that echoed around them. "You think you can save them? You don't know the truth, do you?" Everything in her stilled as his words sank in. A dawning realization flooded over her. "What truth?" she asked, voice steady but laden with fear. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "They aren't who you think they are, Isabella. They're here because they chose this. They're part of the game, just like you." A chill swept through her. The captives, once seen as innocent victims, now became shrouded in a layer of betrayal. What was their secret? What game was Lucas playing? Confusion choked her throat. She felt betrayed and trapped all at once. Before she could process the revelation, a blinding light erupted from the fissure, illuminating everything in a stark white glow. One by one, the captives began to move, their faces shifting from fear to something darker, something sinister, their eyes shining bright with a knowing warmth. "Join us, Isabella," one of them said, voice dripping with an inviting, surprising warmth that shockingly eased the tension. "We've been waiting for you." As the ground shook beneath their feet, Isabella realized her quest for a horse had turned into something far more dangerous. Was she truly the hero in this tale? Or had she stumbled into a trap woven by the very souls she sought to save? The choice loomed before her, heavy and suffocating. What lay ahead? And who could she trust? Chapter 3: The Reckoning. The blinding light spilled around them, swallowing the barn whole. Voices rose in an eerie harmony, mingling whispers with unbearable urgency. "Join us," one repeated, each word pulling at Isabella's heart. The prisoners weren't just captives. They were players in a game she never consented to join. "Stop!" she shouted, but her voice was drowned in the cacophony. She moved closer, torn between hope for their escape and fear that something darker lay behind their invitation. Then a crack of thunder rolled overhead, shaking the very ground she stood on. And then it happened. The fissure beneath them erupted with a deafening roar. Darkness burst forth, swirling like smoke, wrapping around her and the 6 figures. Isabella gasped as she felt a sudden tug at her very essence. A rush of energy coursed through her, so powerful it almost knocked her off her feet. But what had she just stepped into? A memory flashed in her mind. The day her beloved horse, Midnight, had vanished into the woods. The panic she felt then was nothing compared to the sensation of her surroundings, twisting and contorting as if reality itself was fraying at the seams. "What's happening?" she cried, looking wildly around for any sign of safety. The captives began to shift, their bodies glowing in the dim light, a strange, unnatural brilliance enveloping them. In that moment, Isabella realized the truth. They weren't just desperate victims. They were somehow tied to the ancient curse the townsfolk whispered about. And to her family's past, "Everything begins and ends with you, Isabella." Lucas's voice boomed, but there was something different, something disturbingly captivating about him now. His cruel smirk had transformed into a knowing grin, his eyes shimmering with an unsettling intensity. "You are the key. Your bloodline is woven into this land's story." Her mind whirred. Bloodline? What could he possibly mean? Questions raced through her, but she was losing her grip on the moment. The faces of the captives morphing into something otherworldly, their features stretching as if they were being transformed. Then, from within the chaos, a woman stepped forward, one of the captives. "You have to remember," she said, her voice soft yet commanding, cutting through the noise. "You were chosen. We've been waiting for you to awaken." A wave of recognition. Who were they? Suddenly, the air shifted. A deep, rumbling laugh echoed, ricocheting off the barn's walls. She turned, wide-eyed, to see not only Lucas, but also the captives merging into figures of swirling light. They moved with purpose, a collective will rising above her own. "Join us!" they howled, voices fraying into the wind. "You can't leave. You're one of us now." Panic welled in Isabella's chest. She didn't understand. She never signed up for this. The barn walls trembled as shadows danced across them, revealing glimpses of her life intertwined with their fates. Flickers of pain, loss, and a desperate yearning to break free. She felt the weight of their history, a legacy burdened with choices made long before she was born. Just as the walls began to close in, a brilliant flash erupted, blinding her momentarily. Then, in a heartbeat that felt like eternity, she heard a sound, a cracking like thunder, followed by the guttural roar of an ancient beast that shook her to her core. The light dimmed, and when it cleared, Isabella found herself alone, outside the barn. The door hung open, the night sky swallowing everything in a shroud of stars. But where were the captives? Where was Lucas? She stood at the edge of a cliff, the memories fading, whispers quieting, leaving a haunting echo in her mind. The air was heavy, charged with a new darkness. Something sinister loomed over her, binding her to a fate she could no longer escape. Was she truly alone? Or had she just stepped deeper into a darkness that was always meant for her? The night stretched infinitely, questions hanging thick in the air. What now? What choices lay ahead for Isabella Hawthorne? Isabella stood at the edge of the cliff, her mind racing. The night sky was a blanket of stars. Yet the chill creeping into her bones felt darker than the void above. Where had everyone gone? The empty barn behind her echoed with silence, a stark contrast to the chaos she just fled. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her feet. It was subtle at first, just a shiver, but then it grew, rumbling like a warning. Isabella's heart pounded as she stumbled back, her breath catching in her throat. She felt the very earth below her shift, a wild tremor that surged through her body. Then it happened. An explosion of light erupted from the fissure she had just escaped. It shot up into the sky, illuminating everything as if the sun had burst forth at midnight. Isabella shielded her eyes, and when she lowered her hand, something unthinkable lay before her. From the light emerged figures, familiar faces. They were the 6 captives, their expressions transformed, eyes glowing with an otherworldly brightness. But something was wrong. Their bodies flickered like flames in the wind, and dread pooled in her stomach. "Isabella!" called one of them, their voice now layered with distortion. "We've been waiting for you, but it's not as it seems." The ground lurched again, sending her tumbling back. She gasped in shock, her hands scraping against the hard earth. And then she realized the captives were merging into something larger. Their forms twisted, melding together, becoming a single entity, a swirling mass of light and darkness. Panic surged through her heart. "No! Stop!" she screamed, but her words were swallowed in the cacophony. "Join us!" they howled, now sounding like a choir of lost souls. their voices intertwined. "You belong with us, Isabella. You're part of this." With each word, a memory blazed in her mind. Echoes from long ago, of laughter, warmth, and the footsteps of those she thought she knew. A realization tore through her. These were not just captives. They were connected to her family's legacy. And then the unexpected hit her like a tidal wave. "Lucas!" she shouted, voice rising above the roar. "What have you done?" The entity paused, as if struck by her words, and from its center, Lucas emerged, no longer the twisted figure of malice she knew, but somehow ethereal, part of the light that surrounded them. His eyes, once cold, now shimmered with a deep understanding. "It was never what you thought, Isabella. I was protecting you from them." Her breath hitched. His words were a jigsaw that didn't fit. "Protecting me? You're part of this? They chose this?" "Yes," he said, stepping closer. "They're the guardians of a secret, a truth buried deep. You were meant to find them, to awaken." Confusion gripped her. Isabella felt her heart race, a whirlwind of emotions colliding. Awaken to what? To become one of you? "Not just one of us, but greater than us," Lucas replied, voice low. "Compelling. Your bloodline carries the key. The curse can only be broken with your acceptance." "Don't want this," she cried, fear ratcheting up. Then something inside her flickered. A deep need to understand, to break free of the chains binding her family. Just then, as if fueled by her desperation, the entity erupted, sending a shockwave outwards. It tore through the night, shifting the very fabric of reality. Isabella felt it in her bones. The cliff trembled violently beneath her, and it was as if the stars themselves held their breath. "Isabella!" Lucas called again, but this time it felt different. An urgency, perhaps betrayal woven into the plea. "You must choose. Are you ready to embrace your true self?" The air felt charged, electric, and heavy with promise. The shadows danced as she stood on the brink of something monumental. Would she step forward, or would she retreat into the darkness of her ignorance? In that heart-stopping moment, she realized the future of all of them depended on her. Choices loomed, heavy and potent, as the night closed in around her. But one question remained. What truth awaited her, and what kind of hero could she truly become? Isabella stood on the edge of the cliff, breathless, lost in a whirlwind of fear and confusion. The figures of the captives, now merged into something monstrous, towered before her, glowing and pulsating with frantic energy. This was not salvation. It was a nightmare unfurling. "I won't be part of this!" she screamed, feeling the ground beneath her quiver, as if the earth itself hesitated, caught between light and dark. Then, in the middle of the chaos, a blinding flash erupted from the fissure. The air crackled, thickening like fog. Isabella squeezed her eyes shut, the brightness searing through her eyelids. She felt a shiver run through her. Dread and anticipation mingled. What was happening? With a thunderous roar, the light imploded. It swallowed the night, casting everything into darkness. And just as she thought it would consume her whole, the shadows began to dance, swirling together. She squinted, struggling to see, heart hammering in her chest. Suddenly, she heard a voice, deep and resonant, slicing through the silence. "It's time, Isabella." Her eyes widened. It wasn't Lucas. He was still standing before her, but this voice felt ancient, echoing from a place she couldn't comprehend. From the vortex of light came a figure, not fully formed, but powerful, shimmering like a mirage. She could see an outline of a woman, indistinct yet regal, her eyes like stars. "You have a choice to make." Isabella took a step back, confusion flooding her. "Who are you?" The figure smiled, a sorrowful kind of smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I am the guardian of this land's secrets, and you, dear child, are part of a legacy woven from the threads of time." Heart racing, she felt, urgency curling in her stomach. "What do you mean?" The figure stretched her hand out as if reaching across the ages. "You carry the blood of those who once protected this realm. The curse you sense is bound to you, tied to your family tree." Isabella's heart dropped. "No, not me. This isn't my fight." "Yet here you stand," the guardian replied, voice echoing softly, almost compassionately. "But beware, for not everything is as it seems. The ones you seek to save have motives. Dark motives." Panic sparked in Isabella. "What are you saying?" A sudden tremor shot through the ground, splitting her focus. The shadows rumbled again, this time rising up like a tide, threatening to pull her into their depths. The captives' faces shifted back into sight, but it was no longer just terror. There was something more, a knowing glimmer, a wicked smile creeping onto their lips. "No!" she shouted again, a raw cry ripped from her throat. "You said they were in trouble." "Did I?" the guardian mused, amusement creeping into her tone. "Perhaps their truth is a different kind of rescue. Just remember, your true enemy may be closer than you think." And then it happened. Lucas lunged forward, eyes frantic. "Isabella, don't listen to her! It's a trap!" But before she could comprehend, the ground split open beneath them. The fissure yawned, wide and ravenous, and the light was sucked back into its depths. "Join us, Isabella," the captives sang in a haunting chorus, their voices now intertwined with darkness, echoing in her ears. With a pulse, the vortex expanded, swallowing Lucas whole as he reached for her. His scream mingled with the shadows, a sound that was both a plea and a warning. "Isabella!" And just like that, he vanished. Her heart plummeted, confusion morphing into horror. The guardian's expression was unreadable, but the flicker in her eyes betrayed a deeper truth. The choice before her twisted into a single, suffocating thread. What did the guardian know? What was the secret that tied them all together? As the abyss darkened, the shadows beckoned. Would she step closer to the truth, or turn away and lose everything? Breath hitching in her throat, Isabella teetered on the edge. All she knew was that the ground was shifting, and she couldn't escape this new reality. The darkness seemed to stretch forever, and whatever lay ahead promised only more questions. What kind of world awaited her on the other side? Isabella stood teetering on the edge, caught between worlds. The shadows pulsed and danced, beckoning her closer. Every fiber of her being screamed to flee. yet a strange pull anchored her there. The ground trembled beneath her. The abyss yawned wide, and a voice echoed like a distant thunderclap. "It's time, Isabella." She couldn't breathe. Panic clawed at her throat, her heart pounding like a drum. The captives called out, their voices rushing around her. "Join us! You belong with us!" But their faces twisted, revealing darker intentions, lurking behind their pleading eyes. "Stop!" She was losing herself, drowning in the chaos around her. The guardian's face loomed in her mind, every word she uttered burning away her resolve. The air crackled, the earth rumbled again. But this time, something else shattered the fabric of the night. A sudden flash of recognition seized her. Off in the distance, just beyond the cliff's edge, she saw it. An old chest, weathered and worn, partially buried in the earth. "Isabella, pay attention!" Lucas's frantic voice pierced the rising storm, but she couldn't look away from the glimmering hope, the chest. "You have to choose!" Without knowing why, she felt an irresistible urge pull her toward it. "What is it?" she whispered, voice trembling. The chest glowed faintly, urging her closer. The crackling energy surged, and in one fluid motion, she pivoted, racing toward the chest. As her fingers brushed against the rough wood, a seismic shift occurred beneath her. The warmth of the sun seemed to flood her body, filling her with something powerful, something like love and despair all at once. It wrapped around her heart. But then it happened. With an ear-splitting roar, a rift opened in the sky. A raw, gaping wound in the fabric of reality. She stumbled backward just as a shadowy figure erupted from within. Tall and imposing, cloaked in darkness, the entity glided forward, its presence radiating authority and cold terror. "Enough!" the voice boomed, echoing through the night like a death knell. "You dare meddle with what you cannot comprehend?" Isabella's breath hung in her throat, eyes locked on the figure. Shock gripped her. It was not just any shadow. It was her mother. "No!" she gasped. "Mother?" The word escaped her lips like a prayer. But this wasn't the mother she remembered. This being radiated power and anger, heavy darkness swirling in her wake. "You have a legacy to uphold. Isabella, this is your fate." A gasp rippled through the captives, and the air thickened with tension. Their faces morphed into expressions of fear and disbelief. "Isabella, you must make a choice," they cried, their voices now trembling with uncertainty. Her mother glared down, the flickering shadows ignoring the pleas. They are part of something greater. They've chosen their path too. Isabella faltered. Confusion enveloped her like a thick fog. Was this part of the manipulation? What had her mother been hiding? The light from the chest intensified, blinding her. "You can't let them win," Lucas urged, voice strained. "Come back to the light!" The ground shook violently again, threatening to split. In that moment, a devastating realization settled into her bones. What if her mother had never truly wanted her? The captives turned from her, and the shadow that was her mother loomed closer. The power between them shifting like a tide. "You are stronger than them, Isabella. You were always meant to lead." Every heartbeat thundered in her ears, her mind racing. She no longer recognized her own reality. Could she trust this dark version of her mother? Was it all a trap? Before she could process the twist of fate, the chest burst open and a radiant light exploded outward, dragging Isabella into its depths. "Isabella!" Lucas's voice faded into the enveloping glow, swallowed whole by the light. And as she fell through the radiance, a question lingered in her mind. What reality awaited her if her very own blood had been part of the game from the start? What secrets remained buried? And who was the real enemy? Isabella was engulfed in blinding light, and in an instant, everything shifted. The angry shadows at the cliff's edge twisted, their haunting echoes fading away. She felt a rush of warmth as the brilliant glow wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. Yet it also sent a tremor of fear spiraling through her chest. What had she stumbled into? As the light dimmed, Isabella's feet hit solid ground. She blinked, heart racing, only to find herself in the heart of a sprawling forest, darkness creeping around like a predator. The air felt different, heavy, yet oddly familiar. She glanced around, her heart pounding against her ribs like a drum. The trees stood tall and ancient, their gnarled branches reaching out like bony fingers. Memories flooded back, flashes of her childhood racing through her mind, whispers of legends, stories passed down through generations. They echoed in her mind like a haunting lullaby. Then, suddenly, she saw them, the captives. They emerged from the shadows, no longer twisted remnants of despair. They were vibrant, their expressions alive with newfound power. And at the front stood Lucas, his eyes burning with intensity, now fully illuminated in a way she had never seen. "Welcome back, Isabella," he said, voice smooth yet commanding. But there was something off, something unnerving in the way he smiled. "You finally crossed over." "Crossed over?" she repeated, confusion knotting in her stomach. "What have you done?" In an instant, their faces morphed into masks of delight, a strange, collective joy that sent chills skimming down her spine. "We're free!" one of the captives said, laughter bubbling in their words. "We've been waiting, and now the game can truly begin." The ghosts of her past crashed into her. These were not just captives. They were players, pieces on a board, extending beyond her imagination. "What do you mean?" Isabella stepped back, fear clenching her throat. "This isn't just about you," Lucas pronounced, stepping closer, a gleam in his eye. "You see, you weren't supposed to awaken the curse, but you did. You've turned the key, opened the door, and now the dark truth is unraveling. It's time for a reckoning." "Reckoning? What are you talking about?" Her heart raced. A chill gripped her as she sensed a tide rolling in, an energy shifting around her. "What are you? Don't you see?" Lucas stepped into the light, a brilliant halo glowing around him. "We are the shadows woven into your legacy. You thought you were protecting the innocent, but they chose us. You chose us." Isabella gasped, memories flickering like a broken film reel. The townsfolk's whispers, her mother's features twisted in regret. And now, the realization flooded like ice water in her veins. You're part of this curse." "Exactly," he shouted, laughter spilling from his lips. "And you've awakened it. You're not just Isabella Hawthorne. You're part of something dark and twisted, a cycle we can't escape. You're the anchor that binds us all. Despair crashed over her, thick and suffocating. The world spun. Her thoughts wrestled against each other. No, I can't be. I won't be. With a flick of his wrist, Lucas conjured a dark mist that surged toward her. It twisted like a serpent, whispering lies, promises, and seeds of doubt. You'll join us, whether you want to or not. She stumbled back, adrenaline rushing as she fought against the shadowy force. Stop! But the words escaped her, lost in the growing chaos. And then, a thunderous crack echoed through the trees. The ground roared beneath her feet, shifting and reshaping. Isabella's scream caught in her throat as the world around her began to fracture. The trees splintered like glass, the sky bending in ways she had never witnessed. Isabella! Lucas shouted, his face shifting from triumph to horror as cracks spread, swallowing the ground between them. Don't let go! You have to choose! But the air thickened, pressing against her like an unrelenting weight, the shadows beckoning her closer. In a breathless moment of panic, Isabella's world exploded into 1,000 pieces. With a final desperate cry, everything vanished, leaving only a deafening silence, and the weight of a question hanging in the void. Who was truly in control of her fate? Isabella floated in darkness, heart frozen, breath caught in her throat. The last thing she felt was the dizzying pull of the abyss as the world shattered around her. And then everything went black. But the darkness was alive. She could feel it humming with power, a low thrum vibrating through her bones. Then, slowly, she emerged into a dimly lit chamber. It was like stepping into a forgotten realm. Cold stone walls adorned with faded symbols that hummed just like the ground had beneath her feet. She tried to grasp what had happened, but confusion wrapped around her like a mist. The air was thick, charged with an energy she couldn't name. As her eyes adjusted, she spotted the captives. No, the players, standing in a circle, their faces illuminated in an unholy glow. Lucas was there too, his expression both triumphant and foreboding. "Welcome to the Nexus," he declared, voice echoing off the ancient stones. "This is where the essence of our fate intertwines." What is this?" Isabella stammered, battling the dread spilling through her. "Why are we—" One of the captives stepped forward, a woman with sharp features and eyes that gleamed like shards of ice. "This is where the real game begins, Isabella. Your choice is not just about you anymore." The room pulsed with anticipation, energy flowing between them. The shadows danced, whispering secrets she couldn't fathom. But then something shifted. A tremor rippled through the ground again, the very stones quaking with urgency. "Not now!" Lucas shouted. But his voice barely reached over the growing chaos. The very walls seemed ready to implode, hungry for something. And then it happened. In a sudden, shocking moment, the shadows split, unveiling a portal at the far end of the room. Brilliant light poured through, and through it stepped a figure, a woman cloaked in darkness. As she approached, the room grew deathly silent, all eyes turning toward her. Isabella's heart raced. She felt an aching recognition. And then the woman spoke. Her voice is smooth as silk, but carrying the weight of ages. Isabella Hawthorne. I have waited a long time for this moment. Isabella gasped, realizing who this woman was. Her mother. The very essence of the shadows had taken her form, twisting her into something else. "No, this can't be!" The woman smiled, a knowing smirk that chilled Isabella to her core. "You think you escaped your destiny? It was never a choice for you. You were always destined to find the nexus." The captives shifted, their expressions morphing into something more sinister. The excitement in their eyes flickered like flame. "Join us, Isabella. The truth has been waiting. Accept your legacy." "No!" she shouted, backing away in terror. The laughter of the captives echoed like shattered glass as they circled her. And then it dawned on her. Their connection ran deeper than she'd ever known. The truth was embedded in her family's history, woven into her blood. "You're all part of this!" she cried, fury and betrayal coursing through her veins. Her mother's eyes narrowed, the goodness stripped away. "It's time you stop running, Isabella. It's time you embraced your true purpose." Without warning, Lucas lunged at her, a desperate plea stretching across his face. "No, don't believe her. It's a trap." But before he could finish, her mother raised a hand. A pulse of energy shot out, enveloping Lucas in darkness. Poor Lucas, thinking he was your savior. Her voice dripped with disdain. When in reality, he's just a pawn like you all. The air crackled, tension hanging thick between them. Lucas struggled, face contorted in pain, and despair washed over Isabella. In that instant, everything she thought she understood shattered. Panic flared. Betrayal stabbed at her heart. Lucas wasn't the light in her struggle. He was tangled in the same darkness. And the captives, what were they truly? "Face your destiny," the woman urged, glowing with a fierce light, heat radiating from her very core. "Claim your birthright or watch everything you love be devoured." Isabella stood frozen, the enormity of the moment crashing down on her like a wave. The world shifted again, the shadows swirling, reality blurring. She had to choose. Accept the darkness and embrace a fate she never wanted, or fight against the very family she had trusted all her life. "Will you join us, Isabella?" her mother called, voice echoing as the silhouettes around her grew, rooting her to the spot. And for a harrowing moment, the ground didn't just rumble. It trembled with fate. Isabella's heart raced. What would she decide? What would the price be? How far would she have to go to either embrace or reject the legacy entwined with her being? Isabella stood, heart thundering against her ribs. The shadows swirled around her, thick and suffocating, whispering secrets she was too afraid to uncover. Her mother's chilling smile sent a wave of dread crashing over her. "Will you join us?" The words dripped with expectation, the air heavy with a promise that felt dangerously close to a curse. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the chamber, resonating like a gunshot. The ground jerked violently beneath her feet. and an ominous wind stormed through, rattling the very stones of the nexus. "What?" Isabella gasped, her gaze darting around. Lucas staggered, clutching his head. The captives' faces twisted in horror. Something was coming, something big. Then it happened, a blinding flash, brighter than anything she had seen before. The shadows dispersed, revealing a massive figure, bursting through an unseen door in the very fabric of the realm. It wailed, a sound that shook the walls, the ground trembling in response. "What is that?" Lucas shouted, his voice barely cutting through the madness. Isabella turned, eyes wide. The figure coalesced into something monstrous, a blend of light and shadow, flickering like a glitch in reality. As it came closer, she caught sight of what it truly was, and her heart dropped. It was her. No, a twisted version of her. Dark eyes burning with rage, skin shimmering with an inky glow. "You think you're the hero?" the figure roared, voice echoing like 1,000 lost souls. "You've all been deluded!" The room fell silent. Every eye turned to the dark version of Isabella, frozen in disbelief. "I am what you will become," the figure continued, a malevolent smile stretching across her face. "You awaken the curse, and it feeds on your very essence." "Isabella, no!" Lucas screamed, reaching for her. But his voice was lost in the chaos. The dark figure moved closer, energy radiating like heat from a fire. "You're bound to me, bound to this darkness, a legacy you cannot escape." Isabella's knees trembled. "You're lying!" she shouted back, but her voice faltered as doubt crept in. "No, this is truth!" the shadowy doppelganger hissed. "They have all been waiting for you to make the ultimate sacrifice." Suddenly, a splintering shockwave pulsed through the nexus. The ground buckled and beams of light fractured, illuminating secrets hidden deep within the darkness. "What do you mean?" Isabella cried, eyes darting between the captives and the dark version of herself. None of them responded. They were transfixed by the glowing figure, now drawing energy from the fractured ground. "You will choose," it bellowed, an unnatural echo. "Join us or suffer the consequences of your ignorance." Isabella's mind raced. She felt her heartbeat in her ears, the weight of their gazes pressing down. "This is madness," she shouted, fear choking her words. The shadows thickened, swirling like a storm. "Isabella," a voice broke through. A mother's voice, but softer, tinged with something she thought she'd lost. "You must decide. But remember, the truth could shatter every bond you have. Are you ready for what it means to be part of this?" The ground rumbled again, shaking with a force that felt like the end of everything. And in that moment, Isabella's eyes met her own dark reflection, and the truth dawned on her. This twisted version, the powerful specter before her, wasn't just a warning of her future. It was a mirror of her own deepest fears, and what lay ahead cut deeper than she imagined. "Lucas!" she screamed, fear clawing through her. "Get away!" But it was too late. The dark figure surged forward, reaching, and Isabella stumbled back, tumbling as the shadows roared to life. Everything began to collapse, and the choice made itself known. Could she save them all? Or would she sacrifice herself to end this chaos? As the light blazed, illuminating her path, she felt a piece of her shatter inside. Would she be the savior, or merely fulfill a dark prophecy? In that heart-stopping moment, the answer slipped away like sand through her fingers, leaving one singular question echoing in the ruins. Would she let fear choose her destiny, or rise to meet it? Isabella felt the weight of the shadows closing in, wrapping around her like a suffocating fog. "You're wrong," she shouted, her voice echoing in the chamber. The dark version of herself loomed closer, darkness swirling around her. "I'm not you!" But deep down, uncertainty gnawed at her. Could she deny the truth of the legacy pooling in her veins? The captives clung to her, their faces shifting, torn between hope and something darker. "Isabella! We need you!" they cried out in desperation. Then, a surge of energy erupted from the chest behind her. Light burst free, illuminating their faces in a stark glow. Isabella turned to see the ancient symbols on the walls responding, glowing brilliantly, as if they were alive. "You're not bound to this darkness," she shouted, her heart racing. "I'm here to break the curse!" The dark Isabella screeched, her form flickering, battling the light. "You're a fool!" she shrieked. "This is your destiny!" "No," Isabella interrupted, clenching her fists. Strength flowed through her, a connection to the light growing brighter. "I will not accept this!" In an instant, the chamber shook violently. The air crackled, the shadows writhed, and the ground beneath them began to splinter. The captives screamed in unity. "Isabella, break the cycle!" With every ounce of will, she stepped forward, defiance boiling in her blood. "You are not my fate," she declared, eyes blazing with determination. The light intensified, pushing back against the swirling darkness. "I choose my own path." As she reached out, the light wrapped around her, merging with her spirit. The dark figure shrieked again, but it was drowned out by the brightness enveloping Isabella. The captives could feel it too, their faces shining as hope soared through the room. With one last pulse, the dark entity erupted outwards. The chamber exploded in a dazzling flash. Isabella shielded her eyes as the shadows tore away, vanishing into the ether. Her mother's form morphed, becoming something softer, the malevolence fading to reveal the woman she once knew. "You did it," her mother whispered, voice trembling with both pride and sorrow. The captives, now free from the binding darkness, gathered around Isabella, their eyes filled with gratitude. Lucas stepped forward, a smile breaking through his horror-stricken expression. "You saved us, Isabella." Tears streaked down her cheeks, a mix of relief and shock. "But what now?" Her mother spoke gently. "Now you rebuild. You've broken the curse, but the choice is yours to heal what was fractured." Isabella looked into the faces around her, deep connections binding them together. "We'll find a way," she promised, voice steady. Together, as the light enveloped them once more, Isabella felt a promise made of strength, sacrifice, and a future rewritten. They stood together, united against the darkness that once held them captive. And just like that, the chamber faded, leaving them in a magnificent expanse, the dawn of a new beginning, stretching across the horizon. This is where their stories would continue, full of hope and possibilities. But the journey had only begun. What would be next? Don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss upcoming exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support and make sure your voice is heard. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now.